2005 was a pivotal year for bike advocacy and activity in Los Angeles. Joseph started the bike oven in a one-car garage in Highland Park in November of that year. A few months prior, Northeast LA participated in Bike Summer Los Angeles with a meetup and ride from Sycamore Grove Park. I led that ride. After Bike Summer, enough interest had formed to continue as NELA Bikes, Northeast LA Bikes. Meetings were held and events planned. On the night of the November NELA meeting at my house, Joseph opened the garage for business. We all rode down my hill after our meeting for this inaugural event. We were greeted with a bare-bones operation. I immediately knew that I had to get involved in this. By the next meeting, I had prepared some pegboard panels and brought them down to the garage, along with peg hooks and some tools to add to what Joseph already had. A tool board was created. We were on our way. We quickly expanded to the limits of the single-car garage. Enthusiasm was high. There was a storefront nearby called Sandpaper Books, which dealt in abrasive literature. We began negotiations with them to share their space. The owner of Sandpaper and I were already acquainted, so there was enough mutual trust to set up a time, space, rent, sharing system. We moved our operation from the garage to the storefront, a major upgrade. We intended to pay for our share of the rent with a $5 per hour fee for the use of our facility and equipment. That amount proved to be insufficient. Almost by accident, we discovered that people wanted to buy used, refurbished bikes from us. This was the answer. So for several years, our source of revenue to pay rent and expenses was the sale of used bikes. Meanwhile, Joseph, the founder of the bike oven, opened a bike dealership with his brother, Adam, selling flying Pigeon bikes in Highland Park. Joseph then moved the shop to a storefront a few doors away from the oven. A symbiotic relationship between the oven and the Pigeon was in force here for a couple of years. Then Joseph moved the shop a few blocks down the street to a smaller store next to a coffee shop. He later closed down this shop when he ran for city council. The Pigeons had flown the coop. Okay, back to the oven. We operated as a co-op. We made the fatal mistake of not appointing a director. There was no one to tell us what to do. Joseph distanced himself from the oven shortly after we opened the store in our storefront. He had other interests in a bicycle business to put together. Theoretically, we operated on consensus. But early on, I was told by one member of the collective that consensus was fine and she would vote, but then just do what she wanted. Thievery, let's call it shrinkage, was there from the start and was under control for the first year or two, but it continued and increased to where cash, bikes, tools, and parts were hemorrhaging from the shop to the point of crashing the operation. Meanwhile, we were dodging the county tax collector since we no longer could skate by using the bookstore business license. We were harassed by the county, but not bothered by the city since we were very popular with the police and the city councilman for all of our good community work. We were an underground operation doing a public service without grants. We paid our own rent and expenses, and we're doing fine. Early in 2013, we had gotten to a crisis point and were divided into two factions. First was me and my crew, who built the bikes that kept us afloat with enough income to continue. Then there was the gang of shrinkers who stole the cash collected and the bikes that we built, as well as the donations that came in to make all this happen. I decided to lock the shrinkers out, but they broke in, took over, occupying the space. Here's what happened at that point from a bike talk podcast heavily edited to eliminate the vitriol, bickering, and trivia.
So we have on the phone Harv from the Bike Oven. Hi, Harv.
Hi, that's me, Harv.
How you doing?
Oh, well, got a little problem here, and we're trying to sort it out. And I want to respond to Veronica's statements, and I believe she is way oversimplifying. And this is not a sudden thing. This is something that's been developing for literally years. It's gone from bad to worse to extremely worse, where it is right now. So,
well, can you?
That's why the locks are changed. The bike oven is not closed forever. The bike oven is undergoing a badly needed reorganization, without which the bike oven would run out of money, close down for sure by the very latest midsummer.
You're saying that you think that might happen, that the bike oven might close down?
Well, like I said, if it's not reorganized, if it's not getting back on track, it is doomed. It is doomed. I mean, I've been managing the finances of the bike oven for, how long has it been now? 6 years. And, I manage every penny, and I know exactly what it costs to as far as expenses. We are not supported at all by grants. We have no grants. We pay rent. We have no space donated. We pay utilities. We pay for parts, supplies, and since we don't have a source, well, okay, we get donated parts, we get donated bikes. We use the donations as best we can. We sell bikes, we fix up bikes, we sell the parts very cheaply to people who need them. People come in, work on their bikes. This is our source of revenue. We charge $5 an hour stand time, which is less than any of the other collectors in town, who all charge $7. We don't always charge, so we get a hard luck case in, we don't charge. Ditto with the materials, but we have to have a minimum amount. We have to pay the rent. We have to keep the doors open. We've been hemorrhaging money like crazy because, for various reasons, all of a sudden, well, this is getting very complex here. I'm not sure I want to go into it, but
well, I think it's just good to get an overview of what the bike oven is and how it works. Oh, I think Chicken Lou's here. Okay, so we might be. Do you want to have a conversation, or do you want to?
I'll go on talking to you.
Okay. Okay, but Chicken Lou's here in the studio, but we can continue.
Okay, that's fine with me. Okay, so we need to maintain a certain level of income, and we can't be allowing various expenses to overrun us. And the present crew, other than myself and the people I work with, have been letting things go to a point where there's just not only is there not money coming in to meet the expenses, but expenses are being created. And I'll give you an example or two of the expenses being created. They when I say they, from now on, when you hear me say they, it means the other people, the other principals involved, other than myself and my crew of 1, 2, or 3 people. They don't want us, for instance, this may sound like a trivial thing, but it isn't. They don't want us to strip bikes that come in, the junkier bikes we strip. No, don't strip bike. You can sell that bike. But without the parts that come off of those, we can't service the community. We can't supply them with parts. So what we do is I've had to buy new parts. Okay, so we're not a 501c3. We have no business license, so I have to buy retail. I do the best I can while we buy new parts. Okay, wonderful. People have to buy new parts. All right, I order the parts, I bring down parts. They disappear the next day. Well, where's the money? Oh, there's no money. And I ask people, neutral people, or the people who receive the service or the part. Well, did you pay for this? Well, no, blank, hooked me up. Somebody hooked me up here. Oh, okay, well, then I'll go buy some more parts, And then, so the balance of payments here, is just way out of whack. We're just hemorrhaging thousands of dollars a month. And we're down, and I've discussed this with everybody, including the people who are, the people who are hanging on my every word here. I discussed this over and over with them over a period of years. I said, look, we can't do this. We have to be very careful about who, somebody comes in, a homeless guy pushing a cart, riding a bicycle comes in, I'm the first one to say, we'll get you going. It's okay. Don't worry about it. But, by and large, we have to keep the doors open. To my number one priority, keep the doors open. Well, we've reached a point where those doors are closing. Those doors are closing rapidly. So my whole point for closing down and during the reorganization period is I want to save what's left. Save what's left. If you want to talk about cash reserves only, we have 1/3 left of what we had 1 year ago. That 1/3 will be gone by summer at the rate we're going. Something's got to change. Something here has to change, or we're all up shit creek here without a paddle. We're gone. We're finished. I don't want that. I want those doors to stay open. So that's the whole object behind this. And there are other things which I really don't want to go into about theft. Theft on a scale. Just the stuff is flowing out. I'm not going to mention names, but there's a lot of complicity among the certain key holders and people who are stealing stuff. And how can I be sure? Is this conjecture on my part? Absolutely not. How do I know it's happening? I get eyewitness reports. I've even gotten confessions from the perpetrator. Mainly there's one perpetrator. I've gotten, I got it. I got that, blank item. I got that item. And we're not talking about, a wheel, a crank here. We're talking about a bike that's worth several $100s at minimum. In fact, it's worth over $100 if it was broken in half and you submitted the pieces to somebody who was interested. And I know this for a fact. So there we are. It's not an arbitrary thing, and it's not something brand new. It's not something unheard of.
So
it's something that's been brewing and developing, and it's been a problem area for literally years.
So the bike oven.
There you have the bottom line.
The bike oven is. Okay, Paul isn't here in the studio. I'm sure he'll get on in a minute, or we can, after we get off, he can go on and you can call back or whatever we want to do it. But the bike oven is pretty important. I know you.
It's important. It's important to a lot of people. It's important to the principals involved here. It's important to the community. It's in an area of town that is not represented by other collectives. It's in many cases it's a place of last resort, and I feel that we can achieve a balance between the extreme needs of people who can't afford anything and servicing the community in general, but certainly we can do without the thefts. We can do without people stealing. They steal from the low end. They steal tools. They steal bikes. Disappear. Equipment disappears. In some cases, I don't mean someone takes 10 feet of cable to fix their bike at home. I mean a 50-foot roll disappears. So. Let me see. I got mistracked here. Does that answer your question?
Okay. So, is there like a bigger, higher authority we can appeal to here? Can we bring this to the bike court? Is there somebody that we can have resolve this?
I like that.
I'm thinking that's a good question. There's not that I know of. No one is willing to. No one has ever. Okay. Let me say one thing to direct at this. One of the big problems of the bike oven that is not shared, that can't happen with the other collectives and the other bike advocacy organizations, is we have no director. Personally, I would rather have a bad director than no director. We have no director. So I've taken it upon myself to, okay, I'm going to manage the money. I appoint myself CFO, and because no one else would do it. No one else would do it at the time. Who wants to manage the money? No. And then I even said, well, okay, who wants to be a co-signer for the checks? Who wants to co-manage? We had one guy, I won't mention who said, yeah, well, I might do that. And then he said, well, no, I decided not to do it. So I appointed myself. And I've taken responsibility of doing that. And so far, all the decisions I've made have been good. I mean, we're still here. We're still here after these years. And up until a year ago, we were in good shape. But things have gone downhill so fast. Anyway, to answer your original question, no. I don't know who. There's no director.
What about the bike kitchen? Can we have those guys come in and mediate?
Oh, now you're talking about mediation?
That's a form of discussion.
That's an interesting thought, because they're the bike kitchen is kind of my model. I kind of hold them up to the light and say, oh, what would bike kitchen do? What would those guys do? Now, I can tell you right now that they have a much stricter code of behavior for everybody. They're very much strict. In fact, one of the things that attracts a certain kind of people to the bike oven, whether we're talking about a volunteer, a key holder, a client, whatever, it's the fact that we don't have the bike kitchen's rules. Oh, those guys have too many rules. Oh my God, they make you wait outside, until there's a work stand open. Oh, they make you clean up all your tools. Oh, gee, there's too many rules. I'm going to go to the bike oven. There's nothing going on there. So, to answer your question, that is an interesting proposition, and one that I might entertain.
Well, I asked you, and now we'll ask Paul.
Okay.
No, I want to talk about this, though. It sounds like Paul is leaning towards accepting the idea of a mediator from Bike Kitchen.
All right.
Great. Let's do it today.
When would you be willing to meet?
I don't know. We'll have to work that out. We're not going to work that out here.
Okay.
Okay, let's do it.
The mediation never happened because the gang would not respond to the mediator, although I was ready to go. A new crew rushed in to fill the power vacuum and soon began attempts to negotiate with me for the cash I was withholding in a checking account. My initial inclination was to come to an agreement, which included barring the shrinker, who by now admitted that he took the cash because he felt he should be paid for his time. But my terms of such an agreement were not accepted, and we split. My crew got the cash on hand and some of the tools and equipment. The occupiers got the physical location, bikes and parts inventory, most of the tools and equipment, the goodwill, the website, the clientele, etc. Since then, they have incorporated as a California domestic for-profit stock issuing corporation. However, this corporation is currently under suspension by the California Secretary of State for non-payment of state taxes and or not filing tax info as required. They're operating illegally with no rights to the name bike oven and no rights under the law for protection and no rights to take any legal action as a corporation. I have been in touch with former members of my crew and some of those who later rushed in to fill the power vacuum. In all cases, it was reported that the shrinkage continued. No progress could be made to move forward with the business. It was now a business, not a collective. I have seen no evidence of rides, events, classes, or other activities that were engaged in when I was there. A real bike collective is badly needed in Northeast LA, especially with the closing of the Flying Pigeon bike shop. I'm not willing to run such an operation at this point. I would gladly be a volunteer and advisor since I have learned much the hard way over the years. I've been using the former bike oven funds in various ways to benefit community bicycle advocacy. We formed the bike Broiler and set up free mobile bike clinics at the Highland Park Rec Center, La Culebra Park, and at various Ciclavia events. We refurbish donated bikes to the nonprofit Recycled Resources for the Homeless, who work through the All Saints Episcopal Church in Highland Park. I have supported the East Side Riders, Cycle, Los Angeles County Bicycle Coalition, Cal Bike, Biking in LA, Santa Monica Spoke, Audubon, Sierra Club, and others with cash donations.